much.
And welcome to Fantasy Labs.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is a show.
So
Pete and I was going to do the full intro right there, Pete.
yeah, please do. I was going to do it.
This is a show.
How are you?
Pete and I run this every Sunday here on the D&D Time Twitch channel, with rare exception. And in this show, we talk all about homebrew and other more official content for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, that's basically it. We're a show. We're all about becoming better at making homebrew and evaluating content, because once you've unlocked the secrets to creating great homebrew, you can literally do anything in your games. And I've seen people run modern setting games. I've seen people run sci-fi stuff, all using 5th edition D&D. And I mean, really, the sky's the limit once you get good at this. So that's what we're all about here, getting good at this.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we hop into how we evaluate homebrew and what we have on the docket tonight, a quick, kind of soft, if not a little, maybe it's just obvious by the fact that we're here, an announcement, which is we're probably going to be doing Fantasy Labs every Sunday. For a while, I know we were doing a schedule where we're doing some one-shots and just various games on the first Sunday of each month. This would have been the day for that, but for now, we're just going to be doing Fantasy Labs every Sunday, all the time, direct to you. And if there's any change in that, obviously it will be in announcements, but expect that schedule moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Pete was saying, we'll do more stuff every so often, but forcing a game for the sake of having a game that kind of disrupted our pretty good flow that we've got going here at Fantasy Labs just wasn't really working. So, anyway, Pete, what do we have to talk about today?
We got a couple of things in the from the community that we're going to look at. I think we had a new spell from Frog. I know V-Bunny made some changes to the cleric that we Lich's Laird last week, so we're going to be looking at those. We have a big slew of, I guess, D&D Times version of official releases. We have a bunch of stuff that we have showed on Fantasy Labs before. One of them, I think, is brand new to y'all. And we're going to be talking about that and then posting it on our website shortly after. Looks like we're going to be moving a little bit. Yeah. So it looks like we're going to be moving away from the DMs Guild. We experimented with it a little bit. We weren't crazy about some of the just the way that it works. It's very restrictive in a lot of ways. So we're going to be releasing a lot of our content here. So everything that we have been making a little bit more recently is just going to be free for you guys to just grab on our website. And
hopefully share with people.
Please. Absolutely. Please do. That's what it's there for, is for people to share it, to use it, to do whatever their heart desires with it. And last, we got some stuff from Reddit that we'll look at depending on where we're at after all that other stuff. So,
yeah, very exciting. We usually talk about this Fantasy Labs rubric, but I don't think we really need to this week. This is how we evaluate content. It's a 5-point scale. Each of the points are important, but we're not really going into that kind of depth of review this week. So maybe we'll skip over that and just jump right into the awesome community content.
Yeah, if we need to talk about any of the individual things when we're talking about stuff, we'll just bring them up then.
Yeah. And for those who remember, you might see in the corner over here, we've got our little Mind Flayer buddy who's counting up 25 new followers. It's a little bit of a follower goal that we've got going for the Fantasy Labs show. Anyone that follows the channel during that time will add, or while we're live on this Sunday, we'll add to that total and put us closer to our goal of getting 25 new followers. I guess that's all. I was thinking, is there more than that? But when we get there, Pete, what are we going to do?
We're going to do Monster Mash, which is we're going to maybe tack a little bit of extra time onto whatever stream it is when we first reach our goal. And we're going to make a monster that is the predator of a monster that we're going to let you guys pick out in chat. A monster that hunts the monster that you pick. We've already prepared ourselves for it to be the Tarrasque. And know that if you pick Tarrasque, we're going to make it be hunted by small parasites. So only do it if you want that.
So don't pick the Tarrasque.
Unless you're really into that idea.
What's really bizarre is a creature that hunts the Tarrasque, right? It would have to be a really unique creature because there's only one, the Tarrasque. right?
Yeah, so it would be
The creature that's capable of hunting the Tarrasque across space and time.
Yeah, it would be the Tarrasque bug.
Anyway.
Yeah, so that's the Monster Mash. I'm looking forward to doing that when we hit our goal there. But for now, let's start going over the community content. We got a spell here from Frog to start us off, Jeremy.
Yeah, well, and in chat, Frosty was saying, are we going to do another group homebrew thing anytime? And the answer is absolutely. Frosty, for those unaware, is talking about our Experiment 1 here on Fantasy Labs, where we created content that we didn't know we were going to create in 1 hour. It was very cool. We all just showed up, got our prompts, and went for it. It came with some really cool stuff, which we're going to be working on polishing up soon. But
it was an absolute blast. I was thinking about, Jeremy, doing that again next week if you're down.
Yeah, I think next week's a great. Well, we'll talk about that, Pete, because work has been.
Okay, you might have. I know we have to start a little bit earlier to do that, so there are some scheduling things, but potentially, if not next week, then soon.
Just keep attention. We'll be posting all those updates on our Discord. But yeah, we got these custom spell created by The Forgotten One.
Yes, this was I believe a take on kind of a variation on what's the Otto's irresistible dance called Anadolcious Puppet Show, which I know is based around Frog's character in D&D time, but also definitely that kind of like Pinocchio pull the puppet strings and make things move is definitely an archetype that I think is worthy of having a spell somewhere in the game. So
absolutely, and I'll just say, like, every like major wizard has their signature spell, right? Aganazar, Mordenkainen's like bajillion, special spells that he created. Tensors, floating disc, all these powerful wizards have their own special, like, this is my signature spell that I created. So I don't know about you people, when I'm playing like a spellcaster, like a wizard or something, I like to try and come up with something like that, because that just feels like a rite of passage almost.
That is a very cool thing to do. I have personally not done that on a D&D character. I've never made like a Pete's perfect pile driver. It's the name of my cool spell.
You're playing a muscle wizard, Pete?
I'm playing a muscle wizard in that particular. Well, I am a muscle wizard, as you can tell. My incredible definition. I won't show off my arms here, but just know I got a lot of power. Yeah, I've never tried it, but it seems like fun. Yeah, this is a 6th level spell, which I believe is the same as Otto's, right?
Yeah, I think Otto's is 6th.
It's either 6 or 7. 6th level enchantment spell, casting time of 1 action, a range of 30 feet, requires concentration up to 1 minute with verbal and somatic components. Choose one creature that you can see within range. The target, pulled by invisible magical threads, begins to perform a show or dance and exaggerated movements for the duration. Creatures that can't be charmed are immune to this spell. At the start of its turn, the creature must choose to either use all its movement to dance without leaving its space, or use its full action to make exaggerated poses. If the target chooses to dance, it has disadvantage on dexterity saving throws and attack rolls, and other creatures have advantage on attack rolls against it. If the target chooses to pose, it has disadvantage on constitution saving throws and concentration checks, and loses half its movement speed when other creatures make a successful attack roll against it. At the end of turn, the target makes a strength saving throw to break free of the magical threads and regain control of itself. On a successful save, the spell ends. Basically what Frog was saying there at the bottom is you took Otto's irresistible dance and made it something more akin to a marionette themed spell for a character that would appreciate something like that. So there's a
very, very similar to Otto's irresistible dance, to the tune of, if you pick the first one, it's identical, right?
I think it is. I don't know if this is different. I do like the flavor of making it a strength saving throw to break the threads.
Yeah, it's true. You get to save automatically rather than as an action in Otto's.
Yeah. I know Otto's is one of those automatic saves, and this is different. In that regard, one thing I'm not sure about, I like the idea of choosing between basically two things. I like any kind of like hard CC like this when it gives the person that's on the receiving end of it like some way to interact with it. I think one of the best examples of that is the slow spell, where you can either like move, or it's half movement, and you can either like take an action or a bonus action,
Yeah.
and not both. And I think this is kind of going in that direction where either you can not move, or you can actually. I don't think that this. If you choose to dance, you have disadvantage on dexterity saving throws and attack rolls, and other creatures have advantage on attack rolls against it. So that actually doesn't prevent you from moving.
No, because it says you can either use all of its movement to dance. It says it
Oh, okay. So it says it up there.
But yeah, if you choose between using your movement or your action here, I think like in concept that works.
Yeah.
The problem I have, if I were to pick some nits, it's you have two very niche status conditions, which are I'm dancing or I'm posing, and each of them have their own kind of set of how this penalizes you. Like one gives you disadvantage on dex saves and attack rolls, and then the other is Constitution saving throws and concentration checks and loses half its speed. Right? It's like they're very, very niche, and I could see that becoming kind of hard to like
track
think about
all of the small details.
Like
especially it loses half its movement speed when you get hit. Like it's just a little bit complicated, I think, on both sides of the coin. That's kind of where I was at as well, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think it's a neat idea. I just think you're really going in a bit too nitty gritty of a direction. For 5e. I mean,
and I think the direction to choose would be like if you want to create an effect that has this binary thing, like either you can take your actions normally or you can move normally. That seems like the way to go with something like this. And then you might even be able to like lower the level and differentiate it a little bit more from Otto's Irresistible Dance.
I think that's actually another great idea. I liked how you did already differentiate a little bit, putting that save as like a thing you can make automatically at the end of the turn. I like the steps you took to make this not just Otto's Irresistible Dance. But yeah, I think Pete's right. It needs to go a little further.
Yeah.
Another thing you could look at that might be interesting if you wanted to keep this at a 6th or even 7th level spell, you could look at the Compulsion spell, a very, very underutilized bard spell, which is exactly kind of the tone this is going for. You enchant a group of creatures and you point in a direction and they all have to move in that direction, and you can just kind of move them around kind of like marionettes. It's actually the exact intention of the Compulsion spell. So that might be something to look at too if you're looking for more inspiration on these kinds of features, or just an interesting spell that Anadilsha might want.
I don't know if this is good enough, Jeremy, to justify a whole subclass, but would be a cool warlock would be like a puppet master warlock where the patron is the puppet master and you're the puppet. That was just an idea that kind of inspired me as I was looking at Anadilsha's puppet show.
See, now I want the puppet master.
You could also just be the archetype. I'm sure it would give a feature somewhere that also embodies the archetype, like in that way. But that's just that's just a cool thing that inspired me as I was reading this.
Yeah, and I think it's a very cool idea. I like how you took an existing concept as your inspiration, and you definitely did diverge the spell from Otto's. It's definitely a unique and different spell. It's just maybe a little bit too finicky.
Yeah.
But, I mean, actually, it would be fine for your home games, frankly.
Oh, yeah.
But for other people to try and use, I feel like it'd get a little complicated. But yeah, thank you very much for sharing, Frog.
Thank you, Frog.
We got another thing to share. This is a revised version of the Frost Domain Cleric. If you were with us last week here on the show, V-Bunny, one of our community members, brought this to the Lich's Lair, which is our kind of a segment of our show where we take a real critical look at some content for 5th edition D&D, and I mean, really just rip into it, frankly, and give it that big critical review and say what can change and what works. So this is, I assume, revised given our comments.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to go through and check it out right now. And if I remember correctly, one of the first one of the first things that we were discussing on this was solidifying the flavor a little bit more, and more really invoking the idea of ice storm and winter, defining better what that meant. And so I'm just going to read the flavor here and see. I can see there's some changes in here, so let's see how it ended up.
Well, I just want to point the very first thing, lowercase d in domain. I'm just kidding. Take it away.
Gods of ice, storm, and winter promote the ideals of control and purity, truth, vigilance, perseverance, preservation, and beauty, often using the symbol of the moon. Some of these gods are portrayed as the moon itself or the winter's first snowfall. Some are deities of beauty, artistry, or gift giving who teach that art is a vehicle for the soul's improvement. Others are fickle, harsh deities who either prefer quiet contemplation or to bring about the suffering of others or to weed out the weak and brittle from society. Clerics of a god of frost can be lovers of the beauty of a snowfall, or possibly even avatars of the icy bitterness that is the winter. Some who follow the frost gods march tirelessly and relentlessly, withstanding any storm or obstacle in their way, while others are warm and light-hearted adventurers who simply want to help those in need, doing things like saving people from icy bitterness that is the northern winters. This is definitely closer, I think, to really, really evoking what you want to do with the Frost Domain. I think there's a couple of things in here that are still maybe a little bit trying to encompass a bit too much. I like the I like that you kind of have right at the end, I think, hit the nail right on the head with what I feel like you want this to be, which is there's basically two types of frost clerics, which are I am the, I'll weather any storm, the bitter, surviving the cold one, versus like I am the kind of the warmth in the heart of the storm, which I like both of those takes on the Frost Domain. And maybe the first one fits better for Frost, and that second one is maybe more edging into like a Winter Domain. Either way, I like both of those descriptions. But yeah, like I noticed you added the thing about like the thing for gift giving, which I think is a Christmas or just winter holiday season reference, for the beauty and artistry thing. That doesn't quite connect with me as much for Frost specifically. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's an improvement.
Based on what we had talked about last time, I tend to agree with Pete. It's just some areas I think you're trying too hard to include too much still. I mean, yeah, I might recommend looking at like the life domain cleric write-up as a good example of something to kind of follow a little bit. It's got maybe 2 sentences describing what the domain is, and then it talks a bit about it just lists some deities that are appropriate. And I think if you could trim trim the fat a little bit and get it down to really the core theme of what you envision a Frost Domain cleric to be as a singular core concept, I think that's where you need to go from here.
Yeah, I think 2 or 3 sentences is oftentimes enough for a domain, and it's not saying you can't do more, but
you got to be careful about doing too much.
The best place I think to look, I think really in your first sentence, it would be good to kind of pare some of that back rather than trying to hit all of those ideals. Focus on the ones that you think, like just 2 or 3 of them that the most embody what you want the Frost Domain to be to you. Anyway, I think it is improved.
I can see that the spells haven't really changed, which is fine. They didn't need to be.
Likewise, the bonus cantrips was fine.
And then let's check Cloak of Ice. Starting when you choose this domain at first level, you can use your action to surround yourself with a magical aura that looks like shards of ice. The aura extends 5 feet from you in every direction, but not through total cover, and it lasts up to 1 minute or until you dismiss it as a bonus action. Pardon me. While the aura is active, any hostile creature starts its turn within the aura takes cold damage equal to your wisdom modifier, 0. Interesting minimum 0. All right. And once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. Pretty straightforward. I have no real issues here.
Yeah, that is unchanged. I remember, I think we mentioned that we would like to...
damage will move down to this level, I think. No, it wasn't.
Yeah, no, that's the...
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's the same. I think we had mentioned that we would have liked to have seen it take a little bit more...
differentiate itself. Take some of the features that you had at that 6th level and swap it out to this first level and swap that damage up to there to at least make this a very unique, different feature from the
Cloak of Flies.
Cloak of Flies. Yeah.
Which it's not necessarily. We were kind of like half okay with it as it was because you did the improved thing later on, but I still would like to see that change in that regard. But Cloak of Ice is, it's acceptable, I think. Which is going to bring us next to Channel Divinity Dome of Ice, starting at second level. I know we had mentioned something along those lines, and it looks like you went in that direction. You can use your Channel Divinity. Oh,
go.
Yeah, sorry, you can go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, at starting second level, you can use your Channel Divinity to create a shield of ice to protect you from harm. As a reaction, when you take damage, you can create a dome of ice around yourself, which melts away at the end of your next turn. You gain 5 temporary hit points per cleric level, which takes as much of the trigger damage as possible. Immediately after you take the damage, you gain vulnerability to fire damage. Speed reduces to 0 and you're incapacitated. These effects, including any remaining hit points, all end when the ice melts. All right, so it seems like you more or less completely ignored our commentary on that.
Yeah, well, here's what I'm thinking really is...
Rip the...
Yeah, I think that there's just a misunderstanding of our intent with this, which wasn't to change the flavor of it, but to actually like fundamentally alter the mechanics of the Tomb of Levistus to make it fit. Because this is still just, it's just Tomb of Levistus with a different hat on. In this case, calling it Dome of Ice. So that's unchanged. So it's too close to Tomb of Levistus. So we covered that last week. So not much else to add to.
Yep. Cloak of Ice improved at 6th level. It's more or less the same thing as it was before.
Yep. It is. Divine Strike is non-controversial. And let's see what ended up happening with Snow Clone here, because I can see there's at least a couple of things here. At 17th level, you gain the ability to create a snow clone of yourself or one of Winter's allies. As an action, you can shape a snow clone of either yourself, an abominable yeti, a frost salamander. The clone lasts, or a frost salamander. The clone lasts for 1 hour or until you lose your concentration, as if you're concentrating on a spell. Here are the details of rather than going through how it is summoned and all of that. Clone is a creature. It can take actions, otherwise be affected as a normal creature. It appears to be the same as the original, but it has half the creature's hit point maximum and is formed without any equipment and cannot cast spells. Otherwise, the clone uses all these statistics, attacks, and abilities of the creature it duplicates. The clone is friendly to you and creatures you designate. It obeys your spoken commands, moving and acting in accordance with your wishes. So it never increases level, yada yada. And once you use this feature, you can't do so until you finish a long rest. Okay, so I see you pulled it off the Channel Divinity, which was the right move there. And if you'd use it again, it gets rid of the old clone. Mm-hmm. This is, I think, closer to...
I'll say...
closer to balanced.
Because you made it so it can only be you, I think that not being able to cast spells facet of it does really reel in the power of what would be an instant simulacrum.
Yep.
It's who knows whether Abominable Yeti and Frost Salamander are too powerful or not. They're both CR9, which for a 17th level cleric probably shouldn't be unreasonable to have. I don't know. I think this is actually in a pretty good place right now.
Yeah, I think so as well. Because, also it's just going to be your Divine Strike is probably what it's going to be leaning on. It's going to be a thing that does 3d8 cold damage if it's got like a Warhammer or something. So,
one note about this that I would say is it's formed without equipment, but there's nothing in here that says it couldn't get equipment, and there's no timeline on how long it lasts outside of unless you use the feature again. So I could see this becoming a potential problem where it's like you go into a battle with your Frost Salamander that you have from like a week ago, and then the Frost Salamander dies, and as a bonus action, you instantly have a second new Frost Salamander. So that might be something, maybe it lasts 8 hours, or it lasts an hour, or something to give that a little bit more of a boundaries.
Yeah, agreed.
But otherwise, not too shabby. This was a very nice revision there. I actually really like the inclusion of yourself in that list, given that you're a cleric.
Yeah,
I think that takes that snow clone very well.
create some interesting utility options with it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Winter's
like
allies is a great phrase.
where is it?
The one or of yourself or one of Winter's allies.
Ah, yes.
Coldpark, does it say it lasts for 1 hour and I missed that? I apologize. It does. It
Oh,
lasts for 1
you're
hour.
right about that. Yep, it does.
Sorry. Good call, Coldpark. Never mind. This is fine. I am a fool.
Yeah. So anyway, that's in a much better spot. I would say, V-Bunny, look again at Dome of Ice and try and find a way to differentiate it more, not just in flavor from Tomb of Levistus, but in actual mechanics. Like make it do something discrete from Tomb of Levistus, and to like further hem that home. When we say that, that's not even like we're saying try to find a completely new direction, not like adjusting like the amount of temporary hit points or like changing something like, well, it doesn't have the vulnerability to fire damage. Like that kind of stuff isn't what we're talking about. We're saying like go a completely new direction.
Yeah, precisely. And Coldpark, thank you very much for catching that in the chat. We, in reading this, occasionally, we miss things. So I appreciate you pointing out the last 1 hour part because that's an important one. That's a good one.
For sure. Thanks, Coldpark.
And thank you, V-Bunny, for making these changes and sharing it again. This is very cool.
Yeah, it is. Jeremy, is it very cool? You did this. This is your fault, Jeremy.